Hello everybody. I just wanted to talk about the new levels feature I've put into the plating generator version 2, which is currently in beta, of course, and how you can build up this sort of effect and then save it as a preset to use on other objects. So if I just cycle through the seed here on the panel, you can see that at work. What it's doing is it's combining big panels and small panels and medium-sized panels together into one. And I thought I'd talk through how I'm using the level system at the moment. So the level system is still in beta at the moment, but it turned out sort of by building up some levels, you can kind of get this effect and customize it if you like. Let's start with a blank scene and let's see if I can build it up for you. So let's go to just a blank scene. Let's delete this default cube and just add in a plane, a simple plane, and let's add some add a plating to that. So if I just go to plating generator and add plates, it will just look blank at the moment because it's just one face. But if I press N to get the panel up, and I'll look for plating generator. Actually, I'll just turn on the screencast keys as well for you. And the plating generator is here. And I'll increase the subdivision so that we get some panels. And I'll use this crisscross pattern for now. I might reduce the number of slices that it's doing, so it's kind of creating this crisscross pattern. I'll adjust it to about 10, but I'll increase the subdivisions a little more just so that we're getting kind of that basic shape. So if I expand the levels panel, what it does when you first create some plates is it just adds this base level, which is what this is. So what I'm going to do is use this as kind of a framing layer, which is actually going to be invisible. So in order to do that, I just need to make a few changes to it. Because I just want the frames, I just want the tops of the plates. I'm going to remove the kind of sides of the plates, and you can do that under other options and checking the remove grooves checkbox. And that kind of removes the flat plates, and I also don't want any height to the plates either, so I can go to the plate section. I can match the heights so that they don't vary, and I'll just set that to 0. So that's just sitting right flat on the plane, and I can use the cycle button again to kind of move around and get a setting I like. I could also set this to triangular to add a few triangles into the pattern, and cycle through until I find something that's okay. So I've kind of got this combination of bigger panels and slightly smaller ones that I can build on top of. So what I'll do now is I'll add a new layer, and I'll call this kind of the bigger plates. So by default, this is just operating on the base object. So if I select that, you'll just get that kind of same setup. And if I was to increase it, you can kind of see that the level below is still there. So if I uncheck that, you can still see it's there. And what I'll do now is I actually want to build on top of this base level. So if I click build on the base level, that actually starts building the plates on top, so it doesn't look too great at the moment. But if I make this lower level invisible, you'll start to see that kind of the shape of the base layer is actually being used to define the plates here. So again, it doesn't look too great at the moment. But what I'm actually going to do with this layer is I'm going to actually bring the amount of I'm going to bring the subdivisions to 0. And I'm just going to actually 0 off the amount because I want these to be quite big plates. So this is kind of a mirror of the base level at the moment. It's kind of the same. I'll also set the grooves to 0, so it's kind of a reflection of the base layer at the moment. But what I can do now is I've just introduced this selection amount parameter, and what this does is it will select a portion of the plates. So if I hit that, if I turn that to 50, it's only going to select 50% of the plates. And if I click refresh, I can kind of change the plates that are being selected, like about half of the plates being selected there. So there I got a proportion of big plates. And I can do things like maybe I'll add a little bit of a taper to that, maybe not too much, and I'll also make the grooves quite small if they're not already. Oh no, they're okay. So what I'll do now is I'll see about making the base level grooves as well at 0, so that you kind of get that kind of seamless look there. So that's a start. So what I can do now, because I only selected 50% of those plates, I can add another layer of plates on top of this. And what I also want to do, I still want to build on the base level, and I just want to what I want to do now is we'll leave the selection amount control alone for the moment, and I'll just check it on, and this is kind of operating on all of the plates at the moment. So if I click show wireframe here, you'll see this is just kind of operating on all of them, if you can just about see that. But what I want to do actually is build on the base level, but only select the plates that haven't been taken up by the bigger plates level. And I can do that with this button. It kind of says select the remaining plates that haven't been used so far. So if I check that, and it's probably easier seen without all the controls there. So I'm just kind of clicking this button, show overlays off. You can see like there's some medium panels kind of being created here. So you've got some bigger panels and some medium panels, and that causes like a breakup of the pattern. So probably want to reduce the pattern a little bit. So reduce the amount by about 15 or so. And we've got something going there. We could also change this to triangular and see if there's any triangles that appear. Yeah, there's a few triangles that appear. You might want to kind of play around with the amount of triangles that are being made there. So you're starting to get something that's decent. Let's also make Eevee high quality using hard ups, so you can see that a little bit more. So we'll call that level medium plates, and then we'll add another level called small plates, and we'll just do the same thing again. Really, we'll build on top of the base level, and actually we want just the medium plates to just say, let's say, select half of the pattern. So the remainder of the pattern is going to be taken up by smaller plates. So so we want to operate on the base level, we want to operate on the tops, and we want to try that out. So if I enable this level, you'll see not a lot yet. But if I create smaller patterns and I set the grooves to 0, and kind of lost it there. And let's put this to selecting the remainder. That's what we want actually. So now it's kind of the bigger plates are kind of selecting 50%, the medium plates taking 50% of what's left, and then the smaller plates taking 100% of what's left. So you kind of get that small, big, medium, small design pattern, which is more aesthetically pleasing. So I'll just make sure the grooves are 0, and maybe I'll add a little bit of tapering into that so that you can actually see the grooves. Maybe not too much. So there you go. And I'll just do the same with the medium panels. I'll add a bit of tapering in there. Maybe not too much. Let's bring that to about 0.75. And so we're getting something like, well, also set this, make sure that the smaller panels are set to triangular, because triangles seem to be flavor of the moment at the moment. We'll go with that for now. We could maybe increase the subdivisions of the smaller plates just so that we get a little bit of extra detail that's clearer. So there's that. And what else can we do? So what we can do is we got these visibility controls as well, or the disabled controls, and we can just check that we're happy with certain levels. So let's go back to the medium plates, because kind of don't want that gap. So it's probably because the grooves aren't set to 0. So okay, so that's getting somewhere now. So that's kind of a basic pattern. We can also adjust the heights. Maybe we want the bigger plates a little bit bigger, and we want them a bit varied. So let's bring those up to, say, about 0.05. So it's varying from 0.01 to 0.05. You can change those heights if you like. And the medium plates, let's bring those up as well to about 0.0, not as high, 0.03 or so. And we'll leave we'll make the smaller plates kind of vary from something smaller, and so that just gives you a little bit of that little bit of variation there. So if we can cycle through that, and we can find a pattern that looks okay there. So so that's kind of getting that overall frame there. So you could stop there, and you've got something good. You could also say this is a preset. So I've been playing around, but you can add this to your own presets. I'm going to call this BMS4 for big, medium, small, and then I can load that into a new scene, and I can apply this setup to some faces. So I kind of want to get that sort of peripheral detail as well around the edges, and this is a little bit more involved. Hopefully this will be something that's easier in the future, but I'm going to show you how to do it, and I'm going to use that similar kind of framing idea, that where I kind of use an invisible set of plates in a novel way to get the peripheral details. So what I'll do, I'll start with the bigger plates level, and let's disable the other levels for now. And what I want to do is around the edges, I want to do that, and I can use that by adding kind of another level that I'm going to make invisible, and I'm going to taper that level but keep it quite flat. So hopefully if I enable the wireframe in the view, you'll see what I mean. So let's add another level, and let's move that up below bigger plates. Let's call this bigger plates frame, and nothing's showing up because it's not enabled, and it needs to build on the bigger plates level, and you can start to see them there. So this is just going to be a framing layer, so I don't actually want the pattern on it, so I just bring the amount to 0 there, and I don't want any group gaps between the grooves, so that's sitting kind of flush on top of the plates there. So what I can do now is, if I make the plates completely flat, so they're kind of sitting right flat there, but if I build in a taper, that kind of brings in the sides, as it were, of the plates in, so you can kind of create that outer periphery. So I can use that outer periphery on another level. So if I create a new level, and let's call that bigger plates edges, and let's move it up. Let's enable it. It's going to look strange to start with, and I want to build on the frame. I want to build on the actual frame. So it's building on what would have been the tops of the plates of that frame at the moment. What I can do is change that from the tops to the sides of the plane, so you can start to see something happening there now. So you can start to see that there's some frames happening. If I select the unselect the overlays, that starts to show something up there. So I'm going to actually change this from plates to greebles, and you can start to see that the standard greeble library that I've got is just being loaded here, and you can see there's some greebles up here, and they don't look particularly good at the moment, but we can make them look better. Just to show you what objects I'm using at the moment. So they're just the standard greeble library objects, and that are loaded. And I'm going to they're all kind of maintaining their aspect ratio at the moment, which is good for cylinders, but we probably don't want cylinders. So let's switch those off. And what we actually want to do is we want to stretch these along the edges. We don't want them to maintain their aspect ratio. So you can click this button that disables the aspect ratio, and that starts to give you something a little bit closer to what we might want. That kind of stretches the greebles across the edges. So if we don't want them as high as this, so we can control that in the greebles parameters section. So the widths and the lengths are the widths and the lengths across the faces. They're not actual values, they're kind of relative. And we probably want to have them stretched across the entire face to make them a little bit bigger. And we want to actually reduce the height of them to be something like this, so that the edges are being represented there. Maybe you want to increase them a little bit. We don't want them kind of stretching around the whole of the face, so maybe just reduce them a little bit more. That's probably about right for now. That's probably good for demonstration purposes. So let's bring up the other plates, and what we actually want to do is the same sort of thing for the other plates as well. So we'll just do that. So we can make this a little bit bigger, and we want to kind of build up the medium plates in a similar way. So we'll add a new level, and we'll move them up here. We'll add a medium plates frame, and we won't disable the bigger plates at the moment because it's kind of all dependent on one another, but we'll disable the smaller plates so that we can concentrate on the bigger one, on the medium ones. We want to do exactly the same basically. So we want to build on the medium plates this time. We'll enable it so we can see what we're doing, and we'll reduce the grooves. We want to reduce the heights of the plates, so we want to match the heights, and we just want to zero those out, and then we want to build them in. We'll just make sure that's working by putting on the overlays again, and we'll increase the taper amount by about 0.01, so you can kind of see again that the edges are being defined here again. And also remember, actually, we don't want kind of like slots down these sides, so and we don't actually need all the subdivisions for this layer. We just want it to match the layer below. So that's just going to have like one extrusion. And then if we add another level, this is going to be the level that we add the greebles to. We also kind of want to just make that level invisible, and we want to make the other frame invisible as well. So we're just seeing the big plates and the greebles around those, and the medium plates and the greebles around those. But we're still calculating them, so we do want them enabled still. So if we call this medium plates greebles, and we will check that as well, and it's set to plates at the moment, but we actually want greebles. That's probably not what we want. We want to build them on the medium plates frames, and we don't want to build them on the tops of the plates. We want to build them on the sides, and we don't want to maintain aspect ratios, and we want the parameters of the greebles to be all at 1, and we want them not as high. So if we disable the overlays, we're kind of getting that effect. We probably want to increase the pattern maybe so that we're getting a little bit more to it than that. And then we'll enable the smaller plates, and we'll do the same. So we'll add a smaller plates frame. Actually, what we can do, let's try this. So if we want to just copy a layer, we can click copy, and we can call this smaller plates frame. So this will copy all the settings, and we don't want to build on the medium plates. We want to actually build on the smaller ones. Call that smaller plates, and let's enable that. And it's not quite right at the moment. Let's see. Might be okay. Let's see what's happening here. We just want to make them actually visible so that we can see them. So we just that's worked actually. It's just copied the settings over, so that's fine. And we'll do the same with the greebles actually. We'll copy that, and we will change this to the smaller plates frame. And let's enable that. And we don't want the tops, we want the sides. And I think that's it. And if we disable the overlays, you've kind of got that effect that that I showed at the start of the video. So we can cycle through that and get the sort of effect that we want. And that's it for building the level. And of course you can see that although there's a few levels here, but you can customize things as you want. If you don't like those greebles, then you can change the library, or you can build your own library. What we can do now is add this as a preset. So let's add this as BMS 4. And press the plus sign, and we've got BMS 4 now in our library. So that what we can do, we can let's save this scene just in case. BMS. So what we can do now is open a new scene, and let's let's put it on the cube actually. Let's put it on the whole cube. See what that looks like. So we go down to plating generator, add the plates as usual, and it's nothing exciting at the moment because it's not being subdivided or anything. And if we go to plating generator, and we'll load the BMS 4 template, and hopefully it will create the same effect. If we just enable high quality Eevee, you can see that's worked there. So it's added all the same sort of setup that we've configured there, and we can also tailor that setup as well if it doesn't fit right with the shape that we've got. So cycling through that, you'll get a similar sort of effect that we were getting there. You might want to say increase the greebles if the faces are a bit different, but it's there for you to customize. So that's been a bit of a deep dive on levels, but that's where we are at the moment. I'd really appreciate some feedback on how to use this. I appreciate that it can get complicated fast, so any ideas about how to simplify this, that would be great. What I want to do in the future is make these presets a lot more accessible, so you can kind of just like right click and go, right, bang, there's a preset, and it will apply this automatically. So I hope you found that useful. If you have any questions about what I've done here, or you're trying out yourself and you can't quite get it to work, do get in touch. I'll you can get in touch with me through Blender Market, or you can email info@configurate.net. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.